Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to work on multiplying integers. Our objective is that we will all be able to learn how to multiply integers using one of three methods. We're going to use the number line, we're also going to use money, and of course using real-world examples. So some of you are probably thinking, how would we use this in real life? Well, if you think of a hot air balloon, and as it's floating up, that would be like a positive integer. And as it descends, or drops back down to the ground, that would kind of be like a negative. Here we have a problem. By the end of class, I hope that we can all solve this problem. A hot air balloon descends at a rate of 5 feet per minute. If it starts at an altitude of 135 feet, what integer would describe its new position after 9 minutes? If you can solve that problem, here's an even more of a challenge for you. We have how many minutes would it take this hot air balloon to get back on the ground? Try that one. Alright, moving on. When multiplying integers, we can use the number line. Here we have my good buddy over here, Mr. Jocko. Or that's what I'm going to call him for today. Jack-o'-lantern. Alright? When we look at our first problem, we have 3 times. Remember, if there's parentheses around it and they're next to each other, that means to multiply. 3 times negative 2. So we're going to take 2 steps backwards each time we jump. And we're going to jump 3 times. So we're going to go 1, 2, and 3 jumps. Each of them is a negative 2, and we end up, as you can see, at negative 6. Alright, now we're going to look at the next one. Start back at that 0, or the origin, and now we're going to go 2 times 2 jumps of 5. Alright, so we're going to jump 5 and then to 10. We had 2 jumps of 5. But what if we had the opposite of 2, or a negative 2? Then we would have to do the 2 jumps in the opposite direction. And we would end up with a value of negative 10. So if you have the opposite of 2 times 5, you're going to get the answer the opposite of 10, which is negative 10. Let's try another one. Starting again back at that origin, or 0, we have 4 jumps of positive 2. So we're going to go 2, 4, 6, 8. We had 4 jumps of the positive 2. Okay, and now for one more problem, let's do this one right down here. We have 2 jumps of negative 3. So we're going to jump negative 3 2 different times. Alright, negative 3 and negative 3. But again, what happens if we have the opposite of 2? Then we're going to have the opposite of this value, which would actually be a positive 6. So you can see when we have a negative sign and we multiply by another negative, our answer is a positive value. Do we need that positive sign though? Absolutely not. Alright, see if you can get this last one on your own. A negative times a positive. Did you get the answer, negative 5? If you did, excellent work. Let's move on. Now, when you're multiplying integers and you're using money, this is a good way to think of it in real life. Here in our first example, we have 2 times a negative 11. Negative 11 is kind of like owing someone $11. But now you owe them twice that amount. So if I owe somebody 11, here's 10, 11, and so we owe $11, but it's 2 times 11. So if we clone that, we can see now that in all we actually would owe $22. Since it says owe 22, that's going to be the opposite of 22, or a negative 22 in value. Now, looking at the next one, we're going to go ahead and delete the one that we have here. In this next one, it has a negative 10 times 3. Now that's just like we owe $10 to 3 different people. So we owe $10 here, and we owe another $10 to another person, and another $10 to another person. So what do we have in all? That's right, negative 30. Okay, now we'll get ready for the next. And here we can see that we owe $1 to 6 different people. So again, I can say this is $1 that I owe to one person, 2 people, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now I owe a total of 6 people, or $6, which is a negative 6, since I owe that amount. All right, in the next one here, we are getting $4. I don't know, maybe you got a $4 winning lottery ticket, but now you have 5 of them, or you're getting $4 from 5 different people. To make this a little bit easier, we're going to kind of act like we're actually going to switch these around. Does anyone know what property allows us to switch the order of a multiplication problem? That's right, commutative property of multiplication. So we have 4 times 5. So we get $5 that we receive from 4 different people, or 4 winning lottery tickets, whichever way you want to look at it. So how much do we have in all? That's right, a positive 20. We don't have to write the positive sign, because if we just write 20, we know that that means it's a positive. All right, again, now looking at this next one, this is a tricky one. We're going to act like this minus sign doesn't even exist right now. We're just going to say that we owe 8 different people. We owe them $10. So we have 8 people, and we owe them $10. So I'm going to bring over $10 for 8 people. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, $10. But now we have the opposite of that. So instead of owing 8 people $10, we're actually receiving $10 from 8 people, because we have the opposite. Okay? And what do we have in all then? We get a positive value. What do you think this last answer will be? A negative times a negative times a negative. Here we had a negative times a negative equals a positive. Now we have 3 negatives. If you guessed negative 28, you're absolutely correct. Moving on. Now, I want you to go ahead and take out your notes and record some notes here. But what patterns did you notice? When you had a positive times a positive, you got, that's right, a positive. How about when you multiplied a positive times a negative? Okay, yes, you got a negative value. What if you multiplied a negative times a positive? Did the order make a difference? No, it did not, because we have that commutative property of multiplication. And finally, when you multiplied 2 negative values, you ended up getting a positive. After you get done writing that down, let's do some more practice and see how you do. Now it's your turn. Practice on these. Pause the screen, and then you can check your work. So, how did you do? Check your work. Did you get all your signs correct? If you can multiply positive numbers, then you can multiply negative values as well. You just got to remember those notes that we just took down. How many of you got the challenge problem? Remember to use order of operations when you're doing this problem. First, do your multiplication and division from left to right. Here we have a negative times a positive, so we get a negative answer. And over here we have a negative times a negative, so we actually get a positive answer. Everything else is just going to come right back down. Now you have to add and subtract integers. Let's do what we learned yesterday. Keep, change, opposite. Keep, change, opposite for the minus sign. And now we have negative 18 plus negative 4, which is a negative 22, plus positive 22. And what's your answer? It's actually equal to 0. All right. Now we're back at that question from the beginning. Can you solve this one now? Do your best. See what you come up with. And then see if you can even answer this extra challenging part of this question. How many minutes would it take to get back on the ground? You can find more practice problems at my website and practice multiplying integers with skill-specific games. Well, I hope this helped you out. See ya.